When someone we love dies, we grieve, and we grieve because we love. And biblical counselor Darby Strickland with the Christian Counseling and Education Foundation brought so much information and value and help for parents and counselors last season. I had to have her back. So with the new title in her Comfort for Children in Hard Times series, it's Something Sad Happened, Helping Grieving Children. So through the story and sadness of a little bird named Sunny, kids can learn how to process pain and embrace hope when something sad happens. So, Darby, welcome back. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a delight.
So the book starts by identifying what Sunny is feeling. Kids grieving will be able to relate to this, but also parents can learn what to watch for to know if something's wrong. So what are some normal expected responses to grief in children?
I think it's just such an overwhelming, confusing experience that they often withdraw, get really quiet, particularly if it's someone that's close to the parent as well that they've lost. They're afraid to bring their feelings forward because they're sensitive to mom and dad are hurting. So sometimes they try to take care of themselves. If they're little enough, they might just forget, right? And then they get surprised by remembering, oh, we lost somebody. And so I think it's just, you're going to see a little child confused, probably withdrawn a little bit, sadness, but probably not even understanding their sadness. So it's, I would say, just a little confused in their own processing. It's a hard thing for us as adults to understand. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love, though, that Sunny is encouraged to sing when she's sad. And this is something that we as adults have a hard time doing. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, so Sunny loved to sing songs to the Lord. That was just part of what she did in her daily activities. And when she lost just the joy, the happiness of living after this loss, she felt like she couldn't sing anymore. And so one thing that Mama Bird just tells her, well, you can sing sad songs. Like sometimes we want to give words to grief. We want to talk to God. And in Sunny's language, that's singing. But for our children and us, it probably sounds more like lament, just crying out to Lord, I'm hurt, I'm sad, I'm missing this person. And just trying to even help parents teach children to speak the sad things to them and to the Lord. And so Sunny learns to regain her voice. And it's in a sad minor key for a season, but it's giving words and expression to what she's feeling.
I mean, I just love that this is a book that encourages and teaches lament because it's just not something we talk enough about. And I love the line that you have in the book. It says, lamenting takes faith and it builds faith. So can you walk us through steps for parents and guardians? How can we teach our kids to lament?
Yeah, I think one is just identifying what's hard and what's sad and giving that words. Oftentimes children don't have the words. Sometimes as grownups, we don't have the words. And then it's asking the Lord to help with that. It's really inviting them in, give me comfort, give me, good memories, all the things that we might just ask for. Help me, help my family. We're all so sad. And the third part of lament is remembering who the Lord is. And the book is helpful with that because Mama Bird is telling Sunny throughout the story, like, we don't understand death. We don't understand suffering in this world, but there's a lot of things in scripture that we're sure of. Like, we're sure that God cares about our tears. We're sure that the Lord is always present. And so the closing aspect of lament is just remembering how faithful the Lord is, even when things are broken. And that doesn't mean we leave happy. It just means we leave recalling something that will give us comfort.
What about remembering, you mentioned God's promises, but also remembering the loved one? You also provide these examples in the story, but also in the resource section at the back of the book. What are some ideas for remembering a loved one?
Yeah, that's great. I think, right, because when we're grieving, we have love for someone that's no place to go, right? And oftentimes we're afraid to talk to children and to remind them of the sad things. But yeah, I just have a lot of practical examples, whether it's listening to music that the loved one really liked, making a pillow out of their old clothes, reading a book that they would enjoy. I have a friend of mine, she grieves really well. And on the anniversary of her parents' passing, she makes their favorite meal, right? And she just does these things, collecting notes and memories, particularly for children, that memory box that they could look through later. The book has a lot of smaller examples, like planting a flower of the person's favorite color. But the idea is this person is significant to the child. And we want to invite them to remember what they loved about them and the care while they're waiting to see them again in glory.
Mm-hmm. I find it interesting, your approach to this book, a little bit different than the previous book, because in Something Scary Happened, you don't really identify what that scary thing is. It's a little bit left to whatever the situation might be that the kid is facing. In this case, it very much is dealing with a loved one who has died. So I'm curious as to, as a counselor, what is the best approach when it comes to dealing with trauma and preventing this childhood trauma when we're adults? Do we come right at it? Can we, do we dance around? Like, I figured your approach as a counselor is probably similar to your approach to writing these books.
Yeah, I think that what they have in common is noticing the impact on a child, right? In Something Scary Happened, we're looking at a child and all little after effects of trauma that they don't understand what they're experiencing. We're giving the child language there. Here it's the same thing. The child is having all these emotions and they don't know what to do with them. And that's what I find when the Bible names suffering really specifically, but often we tend to use euphemisms or we gloss things over and we don't give people language or categories that I think once they have them, they then can talk about them to the people caring for them and to the Lord. And so eventually the goal is to have the child say, but I feel abandoned, but I feel left, but I don't know that I'll ever be happy again, right? So just giving the child the ability to speak what's happening within them. We do want to give them language eventually.
Mm-hmm. So one last thing in the story, and then I do want to know what's coming next, because again, this is so needed, these books. But we tend to be and want to be alone when we're sad. And what I find so beautiful in this book is that you see the other animals in the forest gather around Sunny and they cry with her. So talk about the significance there and just the importance of community.
Yeah, I mean, scripture tells us that community is healing. As believers, we need one another and we need people to uphold us, to remind us who the Lord is, to cook for us, maybe clean for us, to give us hugs when we're sad. And when we're hurting, sometimes we just instinctively, we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to show our sorrow. We feel embarrassed. And I think that people who love you well want to enter in with you. And it's just a sweet picture of this book. They're noticing that she's sad and everyone's kind of moving towards her. So yeah, that's the vision. That's the vision and the hope for the church, is that we're not afraid to move into the hard, because we have such a love for one another ultimately.
Yeah. And cry with them. I mean, obviously the little bird seeing her mom cry is important, I think, too. I think a lot of times as parents, we're trying to be strong for our kids, right?
Right. I say just bring a box of tissues, very few words, tissues and hugs. Yes.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so what is next? Because I love, first of all, that these books, they come with, this is so unique, with these little stuffies of the main character. So there's a soft, comforting, tangible reminder of what the child is learning. So who is the next character in the series? Can you touch briefly on what's to come?
Yeah, next one's about a big change. So children having to go through a big move, anything disruptive, perhaps a divorce, that kind of thing. And we're just talking about the Lord's faithfulness through that. And so our main character is a whale. I'll let his name be held back. But in just the whales migrating, right, in a big change. We have a psalm in there that just reminds of the Lord. Wherever you go, the Lord is with you. And some things change, but the biggest and most important thing is going to stay the same.
Yeah. Good. Oh, I love it. Well, there's also this Helping Your Family Grieve little handbook that Darby has for parents. The latest in this series, so helpful for parents, counselors, guardians. Something sad happened. Darby Strickland, thank you again for taking time with us.
Thank you.